Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I believe we are live right now, so that's exciting. Uh, Always good to be here with you. We are going to be doing our pretty standard market analysis, but with these live streams, I kind of want to play around a little bit more and see how it works. It's been a while since we've done these live streams, and the internet is a little bit difficult, but I want to try to keep it consistent because I like the freedom that these kind of live streams offer. So if everything's going well, be sure to give us those thumbs up. That way we know the stream is rolling smoothly. One of the things, again, just kind of getting used to a new setup to some degree or another. We've got Ganesh and Buddha also joining us on today's episode. So thank you to our current table guests. We're going to dive in. We're going to take our general outlook on the market, and we're going to start with Bitcoin. Now I'm just going to go here ahead and clean up my screen, and then we're going to jump this over. Now, hopefully this goes smoothly. Again, you guys will have to leave it in the comments because I don't know, the internet was fine. And then as soon as I was about to go live, I was like, no, we're going to go slow again. So I'm not sure if it's actually going smooth enough, but we're just going to plow through this anyways, and we'll check after the fact to see how it went. Okay, so general, where are we in the markets? We're at a primary SOS for Bitcoin. That's exciting. Now we're looking for the downside of Bitcoin. Now, generally, this is usually pretty dramatic. So a big part of the question right now is how dramatic is this pullback going to be? Like right now, do we see only this small trading range versus what we were looking at before, which is a much bigger trading range with a low of Bitcoin maybe coming down between 11 to 14,000, somewhere within this buffer of the top of the trading range itself, like here to here. So I think the important part right now is to remember we are in a bull market. Any type of bearish sentiment of understanding a potential of distribution right now is to find a stronger placement with our positions. So we've been going over with our private group a bit about like kind of futures, options trading, what leverage can be good for, because it's really not designed. It's not the best for everyone as a beginner investor to be playing with these things. But learning about what they do and what they offer, I think, is extremely important. Because as you grow and as you learn to invest more, there's these prime examples of a very awesome opportunity in a bull market that can just be kind of ridiculous. So we're going to be really patient with the return of this SOS because I think it's going to come lower. Now, the part of the problem with the FOMO is here, we know there could be another potential gap up to like 22 to 24,000. So we could actually be looking at a larger reaccumulation before a final kind of peak out, and then maybe a market settle, and then a breakout after March, April, May area to a much higher level. So the SOS may not be finished yet. And we want to keep that in mind here too, because when we're looking at the trading range for Bitcoin, which is what we'll go in and do next, more on the minutia, is we're looking at the 4 hour right now. And I'll use Ethereum for comparison. And again, I just go over this stuff every day. That way it doesn't get you FOMO'd or scared about the markets. It's just it's calm, simple. Here's where the support and the resistance are, and we're in a bull market. So that's a pretty powerful sentiment to understand. So in the private den, we've been looking at this kind of falling potential reaccumulation range here with a spring down. We've got the spring actually showing a fair amount of volume down here too, which is nice. But part of the question now is going to be, okay, does this break down below this trading range and continue, or does it break above the backup range and continue? So all we're doing is looking for trading ranges, whether it's on a small scale or on a big scale. So remember, we go out at Bitcoin and we look at the daily and we recognize that, okay, the larger accumulation range that we're in right now has been doing this for 748 days. So there's no rush. Even the backup phase, here could take another 90 days to complete. We could be looking at 30 to 60 days of sideways. So a big part of that question that a lot of people are wondering is, are we going to see the ever-loved positive volatility kind of jump into other sectors? And we've kind of seen that already in general in the DeFi sector. So I want to pragmatically look at Ethereum here just to make a very similar assertion, because we see, where's my megaphone chart? Yeah. Even on the 4 hour here with Ethereum, you're looking at a very similar reaccumulation pattern potential. So when charting Bitcoin and Ethereum, they're almost the same thing right now. And we've gone over this idea about Compman kind of just buying into a sector in general because of his willingness to accept that he doesn't know in the end who's going to be the winner. So he makes broad bets. And the volatility of these broad bets is likely going to move into other parts of the sector, like Link, Wi-Fi, Aave, Avalanche, Omise Go, Bancor Network, all these there's a bunch of them that are in there that are really interesting. Fetch. But the point of it is, I think, is to stay focused. And right now, one of the main things we want to focus on with the group is just very specifically what are these trading ranges and what are the kind of the signature aspects of these trading ranges that we're looking for, and make a decision as that's happening, not before or after, which is usually where the FOMO or the FUD kind of feeling sets in. Right now, we could turn into a positive breakout, right? So we broke the trading range, so we fell down, but we hit a horizontal trading range right here and have the volume signature come in that's kind of showing we've found some type of support at this point. So a big part of these trading ranges is just to have the confidence of, okay, if we start to close above this, we make a backup phase here, especially at this POC, we're going to go higher, maybe upwards of 720. And that would maybe co-align and align with this idea that Bitcoin could run higher first before this bigger potential 30% retrace, big test to supply is. Now, that's kind of the conjecture right now between those two differences is what type of accumulation pattern are we going to see? Are we going to see that drop down to 13,000 now? Or are we going to see a run up to 22,000 with a drop down to like 16,000 to produce that bigger trading supply range check? Again, we don't want to try to predict the future. So what we do is we use these trading ranges. The previous trading range that was very easily viewable was this one that we highlighted back here in October together. And we'd gone over this, that you had a horizontal trading range here. We were really excited because it was a rising gradient bottom. You saw your SOS, your backup phase, and then look at this, kaboom, just straight out of that horizontal trading range for Bitcoin. So being able to identify these trading ranges and their potentials, these rising gradient bottoms, how many times have we gone over that, are so exciting. But now this potential for reaccumulation here is not a rising gradient bottom. It would be a bull flag, so maybe the finality of this wave. We're not sure yet, though. So if we break to the downside of this new trading range that's forming yet again, we're going to come much lower sooner. So this is one of those kind of fun pivotal moments where we get to watch the SOS's climactic discovery and exploration of price into the supply and the demand that's there on a kind of a day-over-day basis. And then the retracement of that backup phase. Now, this backup phase is going to be very exciting because it's going to tell us how strong the bull market is going to be, and it's going to be one of our last chances to really get in and play the game. So anywhere in here, guys, if you're buying spot, is a great accumulation price technically, right? You see big firms like MicroStrategy's talking about, yeah, we're still accumulating. I've said this, we're still in accumulation. We're still in the early stages of accumulation. After we leave this, the price markup and discovery is almost astronomical. So let's make a fun little kind of conjecture idea. And we're going to zoom out. We're going to look at Bitcoin on the daily. So I should check to make sure everything is going smoothly. Are the things going smoothly? Smoothly. Awesome. Everything's going great. Awesome. I love this. Okay. Glad to hear. Thank you guys for the updates on the chat there. Leave me some. Double click the mouse and on the like button. My internet, I can tell, is going a little slow, which is just funny. Must be that time of year. Let's take a look. We've got full green. Okay. I don't know. Let's try to refresh it here. Anyways, the point of what I want to go into the conjecture of right now is looking at Bitcoin's price discovery moment after we started to leave the $3,000 trending area back in 2017. Because there was the months of August and September, October, we went from like $3,000 to 10, 12, 13, 15 very quickly. So the final areas of price discovery are very volatile and short-lived in comparison to the like 800 days we've had to spend at the bottom getting here. Okay, my internet now is almost not even loading. Jeez. Living in the jungle. Hey guys, it's so funny. The internet was working perfectly fine. And then as soon as I sat down to do a live video, I checked it. It's like it wasn't loading properly. Okay. Well, it's going to be hard to load the screen and do that one if I can't load this. Okay. So I'm just going to talk about this moment then anyways, because it's so frustrating. Okay, we're just gonna scroll into my face and we're gonna do this one instead. Okay, so what I'm excited about is if you look back in 2017 between the months of August and September, October, November, the price discovery mode was so volatile and mostly to the upside. You could have literally entered 100x long at almost anywhere in the very final stages of that and taken just a last little bit of that ride. There's so much potential for opportunity coming up. Again, if you're buying spot, if you're new to investing, if you think that Bitcoin's the coolest thing and you want to invest in it, you can still be just accumulating on a frequent basis. The last year and a half has all been an area, 748 days approximately from selling climax to where we are now. We're all great opportunities to accumulate more Bitcoin. And that's what we want to keep in mind, is that we're still in accumulation. We're in the last stages of it, but that's the important part. These tweets, I remember how many tweets I saw, we'll never see below $10,000 again when we've had our first automatic rally price movement back in July 2019, where again, this is the fun part. This is what that 2 years of kind of down cycle boringness has been leading us to, which is this moment where you're going to have so much potential room for upside in such a very short period of time in the coming months. You should still be building an entry strategy. So here we go. I've got my screen to load here for the most part. Let's go over this one more time. We'll flip back to this one. Okay. So here we are back in 2017. In March, we started to see the first SOS and backup phase. Then you saw the secondary SOS and kind of first final LPS stage. So this area here, and we're just going to rough sketch it, was around 30 to 40%. Now this time it might only be 20%. But again, you can see a very clear area of accumulation. And with the spring down, and then as soon as it broke up, you had this backup phase. Again, for those of you that will be studying the reaccumulation stuff, that PDF will come out this month, right in time, which are these reaccumulation areas that if you were, again, you're grabbing more in this, even though we're up at $19,000, this is so much room for upside. And look at the limited downside. There was and this is what I want to kind of make conjecture about, but between November 26th to December 8th, this is a very short period of time. 20 days. You could have opened 100x leverage here. Once went low enough to probably never went low enough to liquidate your position. I shouldn't have tried to reload that. Silly TO. I should have known the internet was not going to make that easy again. So there's a lot of fun ahead of us here, and we want to keep that in mind. Jesus, internet. That's so funny. Okay, so again, where are we in the market? We're in the final stages of the reaccumulation and backup phases. So right now, again, we're just looking for the trading range to form. So in both Ethereum and Bitcoin, which we'll look at further over here, is, okay, well, this is a much smaller range, right? We can imagine that this was the area between $1,000 and $2,000, but here it's $20,000 and $3,000 effectively to make this range, and then this breakout. So we're in the very first parts of when, if you go back all the way over here to the beginning of this, the beginning of the breakout of the larger trading range for Bitcoin, we're like here effectively. So we're, in retrospect, we're pretty close to about here. We're at when Bitcoin went from $900 to $2,600, and you're going to see these final SOS and LPS moves outwards. One more, bam, and then just sheer madness that comes out afterward. After that, because there was this retracement here, which was just another SOS and LPS check where you have SOS, LPS. You could effectively actually say this is just one quick SOS and LPS breakout here. So boom, like that. And then this is just, again, this is kind of the area of what people call FOMO. We are not at FOMO yet, so we're far away from euphoria. Let's measure the time here just for fun. you've got approximately 100, let's say we're in the early stages of this reaccumulation area building. Before you get to that kind of madness at this point, if we are back in 2017, it's about 180 days away. And this somewhat coalesces with our idea that we had talked about the spring before. So for those of you that have been studying with us, I've talked a lot about the Wyckoff idea of the spring, because a lot of what we're measuring is human psychology and the nature of a marketplace throughout time. And that's one of the interesting parts, right? Is a human's psychology through time. It's not necessarily very straightforward, but it does seem to have a footprint. And that footprint of the market, this market psychology, is really what we're looking for. We haven't got to that moment of euphoria. We're actually quite a bit a ways away from it. We're just leaving the areas of fear now. Peak pandemic, like, oh my God, we're locking down. It's an unknown virus. What are we going to do? First time the globe has ever locked down, this kind of thing before. And boom, supply test, we drop all the way down as low as we're going to go for Bitcoin. And then from every day outwards after pretty much March 11th, we've been in a full-scale bull market, but in the very early stages of it, where we didn't even leave the trading range until just recently. So if we jump back to the charts, I'm just going to keep using Bitcoin here. So if you look, we'll use 2017 as a comparison. So down here we have the trading range breakout, our kind of our first initial SOS and backup phases that come through the trading range, and then these much bigger ones right now. This here representing probably the move from about 11,000 to the 20,000 that we ran into so far. And again, we could form a higher trading range if we go into this time. So it's never, you never assume that the future and the past are going to completely represent one another. But how many times have we seen these SOSs and then these supply test, degradative buying weights, it slows down and it goes into some type of accumulation range? That's really what we're looking for now. And again, remember, this accumulation range could be totally horizontal right now, which means if it were to form with its last change of character, you could see as low as 16,000 before it goes kaboom again, right? We don't know yet. And that's kind of the fun part, the discovery phase of these final moments of the history of the new financial technology to some degree or another. So congratulations for being here. We're still way ahead of the pack. This is not a mainstream thing yet, but we are so much closer than we were in 2017. You have Visa partnering with Blockfi, right? Making cards where you can get Bitcoin back for spending. Oh my God, I love this. This is fantastic. All of the things you would want for like a well-educated investor. It's brilliant. So now that we're getting much closer to the brilliant stages of adoption, where it starts to move between the hands of people that don't even yet necessarily know they're using the technology, much like how PayPal, and again, we could arguments, not your keys, not your coins, but PayPal has all these insurance aspects that help them be effectively more functional. So it's bringing the potential for more wide-scale adoption over the next decade. And that's what we want to remember, is the long-term time frame, because we likely have bull, and bear cycle ahead of us within that decade. So we're going to see big ups, big downs, big ups. The volatility in this market is going to be just like it has always been. Exciting. There will be a time, though, hopefully, where the asset volatility settles down. And that's one of the big questions now is, do we see a settling down in price discovery within the next phase or not? And if we only go 80%, and this is our first stage before we find a new trading range versus the 200% last time, that's already a half of what we had in volume coming out of the trading range in our previous 2017 like blue sky discovery aspect. So part of the fun here I think of Mark like the internet is not loading all that well. I apologize. I do want to look at Ethereum though, because again, we're seeing, I think Ethereum produce one step stages ahead in its market cycle, because we've had a much longer accumulation time from Ethereum selling climax to where we are now. We're approximately 736 days in. Okay, it's Ethereum and Bitcoin are pretty much identical, except Ethereum took one step ahead of Bitcoin first, which is a really interesting thing to think about. I think it signals, and I mentioned this in some of my other videos, Ethereum was actually being adopted as a new financial primitive before Bitcoin at a mainstream level. Now, what's interesting is that Bitcoin actually represents it seems to be more and more representing the collateral, and Ethereum is much more the contractual layer of how we might want to play with our collateral and what we can do with these new financial technologies, other than just send value from one place to another. Now you can add all these new functionalities. As a matter of fact, I wanted to take a look at Dune Analytics today and go over some of these decentralized index metrics. If you guys haven't used Dune, it's pretty exciting. I think they've got some fun stuff to look around with. But I wanted to, oh no, where did they put it? Oh yeah, Bitcoin and Ethereum, this post. I thought this post was really fun because it's showing basically a market cap map of how many Bitcoin are running on Ethereum. So these would be wrapped Bitcoins and Bitcoins moving through smart contracts as collateral on the Ethereum network. Again, if you can imagine now, you've got a Bitcoin, but you can put it in the Ethereum network, and now Bitcoin has 100,000 transactions per second, effectively, right? You can create these new kind of fencing layers for the collateral. We're getting into a really unique area where, okay, we let Bitcoin do our one thing. It works as money. It's ultra secure. It does a very good job at this. Now we can use these other layers like Ethereum to build out the rest of the communication layer in the financial sector. So we could do loans for people with automatic paybacks and all these interesting types of interest that can be earned from ideas like Wi-Fi, where participation factors, just like we talked about many times in the social media space. If Twitter would have rewarded you with tokens that you could spend at the Twitter store or something, there's a very real level of participation, or kind of almost universal basic income, that I think is going to come from the value acquisition because of the lack of friction. Whereas in the old financial sector, we have so much friction because of the checks and balances, sidesteps so much of the friction that the monetary system may actually end up rewarding a lot more people for it functioning in general. And that would be the hope, right? Is that as Jeff Bezos or something makes more money and the liquidity value of Amazon goes up, that it can be lent and loaned and done automatically through these contracts to some degree. Now we get into a little dangers of dystopian aspects here, but this idea that there's 145 Bitcoin rolling through the Ethereum ecosystem, I think it shows the importance of what these two layers represent together. And here you can see the growth of, so the different ones of REN BTC supply. So this would be wrapped Bitcoin, WBTC supply is the majority of it here. This is kind of fun. I like these interesting metrics of how these ideas are functioning together. You can look at other ones too. Again, I just wanted to highlight Dune Analytics here for a sec. You get 18.09 billion total in the stablecoin supply. Now, first off, we should probably talk about this because inherently stablecoins represent a new type of risk to our ecosystem. The idea that both, okay, so we've always talked about our supply being negative for the growth of it as a money. Okay, well, US dollar is not a money, it's a currency, very blatantly. It probably should be inflated because there's new people that are being born all the time, and they're generating more wealth and they're generating more capital. So currency needs to kind of inflate. Otherwise, you have this divisibility problem, which is now the price of the currency is going up. We actually need the price of the liquidity of the currency to go out because you need more people to have it because there's more people on the planet. It's kind of one of the difficult aspects about comparing a money and a currency is they're supposed to do different things, right? They're supposed to do different things. They're supposed to function differently. The same way like my kind of swaggy linen shorts are mostly for going to the beach, right? I could use it to go to something a bit more extravagant as well. Whereas if I'm wearing my work pants that are covered in paint, unless I'm the artist at a gallery, I'm going to maybe look out of place. So part of it is the set and setting for how some of this stuff works. It really makes a difference of, well, what's a currency and what's a money? You need to have the set and setting in the environment of each of these things functioning properly. And one of the big problems that we have right now is actually getting liquidity to more people. So the downside is the inherent risk in this idea that you can have a one anything of it's a stable coin, right? That's what the US dollar has kind of tried to represent, was this ability to inherently trade this one type of stable thing for other things. Now, we've seen the degradation of that. A house that was once $50,000 in San Francisco may be worth $500,000 now. So you see inflation to some degree or another in the consumer price index and the model of how those things are represented one way or another. And that's the kind of the danger of this illusory idea of a stable coin itself, when these can just basically be created out of nowhere to some degree. If we're measuring it against the US dollar, and the US dollar has the inherent risk built into it, what does adding a stable coin to the ecosystem mean? But look, everyone's looking at Bitcoin's price next to USD. When we go look at Bitcoin or Ethereum, we're like, oh, Ethereum versus USD right now. We used to chart all the time in Bitcoin to everything else and everything else to Bitcoin, but this ecosystem is evolving, and the DeFi sector has seemed to put a highlight on the US dollar because it's kind of the means of exchange, it's like the reward token you get for collateralizing your assets now, right? Anyways, point being, you probably don't want to hold on to currency anyways, unless you need to spend that currency for business in the immediate future. You should be sitting on more valuable assets, or spending more money on the business that will create more valuable assets for the product or the service that you're trying to provide for your community. Anyways, the point of this is, I think that when we see that there's this much money in stablecoins, it's bringing a new type of risk to our ecosystem, but it's a risk we are going to have to deal with because the money and currency are different from each other, and we need to recognize their difference to allow them to play together. You don't necessarily want a capped currency supply. That would be kind of weird, right? It's kind of nonsensical. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You don't want to sit on a bunch of currency either because they're telling you they're inflating it. So we've known this for a long time. I think it's just, again, that simple conversation about what's the difference between a currency and a money. So now we're adding US dollar stable coins. We're adding a currency to our monetary system, right? So we like Bitcoin, we like Ethereum. What is the US dollar coin represents us bringing a type of currency into a monetary system, right? It's a huge evolution of this ecosystem. It makes a big, at first it's a little sketchy, the tether, we don't know how much money they have, and are they just printing tokens that they can buy a bunch of product with, and that's these price, like how inflated are the prices? We don't know. But at this point, I think we're seeing that the growth and the stability of the market, the acceptance of this new price discovery mode is going to continue. That at this point, this is the base of the market. And even though we're adding new risk by going down this layer of US coins and this massive growth, look at this. Is this a $31 billion transfer of stablecoins on October 26th? This must be, I wonder if that's correct. Can you click on this date, Dune? No, I'd have to zoom in. Okay. That's fantastic. Just for fun, guys, here, let's zoom in on October 26th here. Apparently $31 billion in stablecoins was moved on a daily basis. Here you can see Circle. You can see Tether's volume here at $12 billion on Tether. So see, this is kind of one of the weird questions here, is how much was of that built this ecosystem up and is totally just made up? Be a great question. You can see Binance USD at 465 million, Maker DAO up there at 911 million, is $1 billion. Gemini at 14 million, but Gemini is fully regulated, so they represent an interesting change too. Should highlight that Gemini's stablecoin represents a much more highly regulated, backed by dollar type of platform, which is likely what Facebook is going to be adding to their place with their Nevo wallet. So you should keep an eye on that, because they're likely going to be on here next with their FUSD. That's what I would call it. If I was part of the Facebook marketing team, I would call it the FUSD. Anyways, what was the conjecture point of that? Oh yeah, we want to keep in mind that right now we're developing a new monetary system. So it's not just about Bitcoin as our collateral, it's about the functioning aspects of the way Ethereum and these US dollar stablecoins are playing with Bitcoin, because it's a new area of growth, and we provide a lot of the services that the banking system can't provide anymore because of the sheer level of friction that's involved in doing so. I mean, I marvel at the idea of imagining that Jeff Bezos could take his illiquid Amazon stock, put it under some type of locked collateral idea where it could earn more liquidity and provide that liquidity to, say, underbanked entrepreneurs through platforms like Kiva. That would be amazing. And right now we can't do that because of how much friction is in the old banking system, but the new banking system will likely provide that. So check out Dune Analytics, sign up. They'll give you a free account. It's not a paid ad or anything like that. I like what this, when you just kind of roll around here, we could take a look at common gas prices. It just allows us to make a little bit more conjecture around some of the the more abstract conceptual ideas of how this technology might grow and function together over the next decade. So again, here, we'll just go through Dune Analytics for a few more minutes because we're doing a live stream and it is Wednesday at 1 p.m. So we're following the guidelines of when YouTube tells us that we should be live streaming. Give us a thumbs up if you like this content. If you've never heard of Dune Analytics before, go to... anyways, so here we can see the different gas price costs for general transfers. We can see Ethereum transfers at approximately 59 cents from wallet to wallet. Pretty simple transaction cost. And then you can see more complex contractual obligations going through the ecosystem here, like a Uniswap trade at $3.55. Just an ERC20 transfer, as if we were to send you guys Bear, it would cost approximately $1.15. Now, again, these costs are very high right now for Ethereum, and they're going to come down. The implementation of the proof of stake, all these new features through sharding and plasma and layer 2 scalability with ZK rollups and all this stuff that I really don't understand, but I can kind of grasp, is going to make all this other fun stuff again that much cheaper. So when we're generally looking at even putting a deposit in an account, you're looking at like a $5 transaction fee, which is effectively, think of how many times you go to the ATM, you use your card, and it costs you $5 to $10, especially if you're in a foreign country. How many, probably thousands and thousands of dollars I've spent on ATM fees while traveling around the world. Anyways, again, that's why the Blockfi card will be such a great thing to have, because then every time you're spending with all those fees anyways, you're getting paid back in Bitcoin. But even more importantly, now if you can reduce the cost of making a deposit on these new ways to earn interest, to build I guess more APY on your collateral as you're building your own wealth, etc., and the cost of that is almost nothing, that's extraordinary. What that means, it likely puts our financial institutions in a place where it can produce more wealth than it consumes, which would hopefully step us away from the old debtor system we had, which is actually consuming a lot more than we were creating. Right now, I think we need to print like $2.80 of debt to make $1 in profit. It's ridiculous. We have gone over the deep end. So these costs right now in what Ethereum is producing with our collateral asset like Bitcoin are going to go down, and that means that friction layer is going to be reduced so dramatically that a lot of this stuff is going to become, you'll be able to be rewarded on the microtransaction layer, which is just ridiculous. Again, if you add this type of idea to Twitter and these compounding growth effects, it's very likely that universal basic income is going to come from your ability to interact with the machine and the computer and the digital space that we live in, signing cryptographic ideas that you are somewhere and that you just took a picture of a mountain. It's going to be a weird world that we're headed into. So get used to it. And on top of that, we've got Israeli defense ministers. We're going to jump into this sideways. Israel defense minister, aliens. So I don't know if you guys saw this. I think it's kind of fun. Former Israeli space security chief says extraterrestrial exist and Trump knows about it. What's really interesting here, and I want to sidestep two stories just because I think this is a fascinating aspect of understanding deflationary technology, and it's a really ridiculously far out pushed version of that. We can ask ourselves what would happen if we all of a sudden had infinite energy, or we could travel at a significantly like a fraction of the cost. How much more we could do and how much less that would cost. How many more people would have access to the same level of quality because of that reduced friction. And that's really the kind of why I wanted to sidestep into this, is I thought it was fun. It says a galactic federation has been waiting for humans to reach a stage where we will understand what space and spaceships are in general. And what's really interesting about this, guys, is this galactic federation. Okay, in 2013, Paul Hellyer, Galactic Federation. So Paul Hellyer is the Canadian defense minister. They don't have any of his old posts now. There's just new ones. But you can look up the old videos of Paul Hellyer. He was a Canadian defense minister. And when he retired, he talked about the Galactic Federation. It's really interesting to see that both of these people high up in, okay, yeah, here it is. The Honorable Paul Hellyer is the former Canadian defense minister. This is his book, National Defense for Canada and UFOs Are Real. And he very specifically talked about the Galactic Federation, like that this is what they were called. And I like to trip out about stuff like this because we've seen visions of these ideas of these cigar tic tac UFO shaped things flying around. And if you put into play the idea that money is really a store of value in the long term and a saving, like a battery almost, like money is like a battery of economic energy. What happens if we can produce energy almost infinitely? What value does money have? Part of the big questions here is like, well, it's a big scarcity idea. What if energy is actually significantly more abundant and almost infinite compared to what we know? And our silly monkey brains just have a hard time grasping that. We're holding so tightly the idea of scarcity that we still value that when the rate at which technology could be deflating over the next 10 years, 100 years, whatever it might be for the human species to wake up. Maybe the Israeli defense minister and the honorable defense minister of Canada, both are calling the Galactic Federation, have never worked together, probably never once talked to each other, because they're almost a decade apart in terms of their military credibility. It's just interesting, because to me, that advancement of technology would change the way we relate to money, because it's a way we relate to communicating energy. And if you make energy almost free and infinite, might be the case, then we'd see a drastic change in money. So although I'm a huge fan of scarcity in assets, I also want to talk about the infinite abundance of the possibility that exists in this universe, and fun stuff like this, where even if it's not true, I think playing with ideas like this and letting it roll through your mind, when you have really credible people coming out and talking about galactic federations, not in any way affiliated, it makes you wonder. It really does. So I wanted to use that as a quick sidelight. I'm going to roll into the part of the episode now where we take a look at some of your guys' thoughts and questions, and we're going to do that now. I hope you guys are enjoying today's live stream. These are fun for me. We're half an hour into this, so we're going to bust open the iPad, and we're going to take a look at some of your guys' questions here on the iPad. Okay, yeah, I wanted to finish with that alien idea, just because infinite technology and the kind of conceptual aspects about scarcity or abundance, at least in the mind of a simple brain monkey such as myself, such as me, talking to me. You were there in the camera that I can see on the screen. You're a monkey. Okay. Let's see. What do you guys got to say? BTC up or down in the next 24 hours? Okay, we'll take a look at that more closely. Right now, it doesn't really matter. All I'm looking for is a new trading range. So I'm not going to get too excited about the up or down volatility. I'm going to let it tell me first. And then when we see a confirmation in the trading range, that's when we pounce, because it's less exposure, less time, and much higher chance of success, at least. But you got to be present for that. You got to be present for the markets. Otherwise, like I said, if you're in spot, just keep buying. You shouldn't even care what price is back at. Like, is it going to go? Just keep buying spot whenever you can. Not investing advice, but seriously, guys, still in accumulation. Okay, whatever. We'll leave it at that. Tio, you're the man. Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's ride on two wheels says. No way institutions are buying at this top. We know that MicroStrategies was bought $50 million at the top the other day. Now, MicroStrategies, you could maybe consider retail. I don't know how advanced their technical analysts are, but he knows probably that we're still cheap. This is a cheap price compared to where it's going. That's a very clear and real sentiment. Just like I just said to you guys, you can buy spot at any of these prices and you're going to be fine. And that's probably what they're doing. They're looking at an average in price. So even if they bought another 50 million or 400 million at this price, they're just actually averaging down their overall price, right? So you buy another $400 million in Bitcoin after you had $400 million and you're up 80%. It brings your overall buy-in down to like 13,000. So they don't have to try to pick the bottom, knowing that we're probably going down to 13,000. They can still average in now and get that swing potential, right? So I think that institutions are still accumulating at these areas. They're just they're probably likely as patient, and if they're not, they're patient enough to not care because they know that this is a multi-year game plan from an investment standpoint to really get it, because we're at the final stages of accumulation from what I can tell. Carlindo Sousa says, Tio, I really enjoy your TA. You are underrated. I appreciate the support. Maybe it's not. I think I'm quite niche in what I do. Sometimes we make videos about turmeric tea and we have Buddha sitting with us. And because of that, it's very abstract and kind of avant-garde. And because of that, we have a very niche community of people that like what we do. And although we're not huge, I'm very grateful for the distilled quality of people that appreciate the content that we produce. Maybe as time goes on and aliens become more popular, so will Tio. They might go hand in hand. This might be a gear change. Like we can take mushrooms now legally in certain countries. You could smoke weed. Like plants are finally becoming legal. Like, I don't know. Maybe the human race is waking up a little bit. I don't know. Maybe. Just a little bit. Maybe. Who knows? Could be wrong. Hope so. Okay, next thing or thought. This is the kind of take a look at your guys' thoughts and question moment. So if I haven't got there yet, do that now. Now we can all make big gains in the market dumps. Before 27 news, only when BTC pumped. Yeah, exactly. Now we can go short. We didn't have futures or contracts options. This market has evolved significantly, and there are much bigger players here. So keep that in mind. Next key support. We'll look at Bitcoin again here after this kind of community commentary aspect. Could we consider our last top to be a historical double top? That would be dangerous. Look, any movement that we have here in terms of a top is really just the start of a new trading range. So don't think bearish. We are in a bull market. Any bearish sentiment is just providing you a new opportunity to find a lower entry. So let's say we have a double top out right now. It's going to form a new trading range. Even if that brings us down to $13,000, the point of that is it's going to go up after, just like in that SOS and LPS format or sign of strength and last point of supply that we had gone over in our trading range studies. That's really helpful. If you guys are not up to date with what we're studying, you can join our private group, or you can do the research by yourself anywhere on the internet where you just type those things in. That's as simple as that. So one of the two, or there's probably other options for people that are interested in ideas, right? I think everybody should be more interested in things and ideas. It's so much fun. This is exciting, right? Okay, next person's comment. Greetings from New Zealand. Comment. Lenny. Zray 2008 says, what's your take on the 2.8 billion Bitcoin that are being put back in the World of Warcraft site in Battlefield? I'm not sure. I have no idea. I don't have enough room to. Hey, look, Buddha's better focus than I am. Oh, look, can you guys see my Arcane Bear sticker? Doesn't matter. Yeah, look at the bear with the Bitcoin bags. Okay, let's see. Nice setup, different angle or different place. No, this is still my house. We've just here. I'll show you guys. Actually, why not? So this is kind of fun, and I can. Oh no, this 50 mil is not going to work. Never mind. I've got a. We're fixing the wall where the podcast center normally is. So I'm set back a little bit where you can see the other side of the room instead of the other corner or the other podcast center that I was using before. We're anyways kind of trying to play around with stuff. So yeah, and Canon offered this great new function with their cameras where I can just plug it in and use it as a webcam. So now I have a very nice 50 millimeter 1.4 kind of wide open prime lens at a 5D Mark IV full frame sensor and provides this much higher level of video, which all they had to do is write a BIOS update, and now all these Canon cameras are webcams. So head off to them in the middle of the pandemic, because it probably gave a lot of people who didn't actually have a webcam the opportunity to stream or make content, and that's I think an interesting good for them. That's all I'm trying to say. Okay, next thing. Blockfi annual fee is $200. I have to double check on that. King of Do. I'll get back to you. I'll get back to you on that one. I don't want to look too much on the internet right now, unless it's a price, because I have the charts open. USA would never allow free energy for humankind. I think maybe there is something else going on here. I don't want to speculate too much, because that's not what this show is not about aliens. I just wanted to bring that up as a kind of a fun avant-garde idea about energy and the storage of energy, or the potential for infinite amounts of it, which might relatively be closer and sooner than we think. Okay, what do you think will happen to BTC and crypto if there is a large stock sell-off? Dante Com says. Now, look, one of the things we want to go over is, first off, understanding that we're in a bull market effectively. So let's kind of dive in and take a look at the S&P 500. So we're going to make some conjecture right now around the larger markets, the larger market, and it's the sentiment around the larger markets. Because when we're measuring Bitcoin's price movements, it's not in a bubble. Like, there's the rest of the world, and the rest of the world is paying attention to things. So when the rest of the world gets scared, whatever market it is, it's probably going to affect our market too, because sentiment runs throughout consciousness. It's not like, oh, only the person that has in the S&P 500. No, fear actually moves through the fabric of the human species, or euphoria seems to as well. Right now on the S&P 500, and we've gone over this prior, we are actually above the trading range. And we've gone over this talking about the likelihood of this being a new accumulation range. The closing above this here, we're going to see the backup. A big part of that question right now is going to become, what's the strength of that backup? So I guess if what you want to do is think of it like this, right? There's two potentials here. Number one is the potential that we close above this trading range and we continue higher, or we actually break back down below the trading range in March and come lower. Now, I would lean to the idea that we're actually going to see a bullish market in almost all the innovation sectors. So the S&P 500 is included in that. So right now we're looking at the S&P 500, even though it's not all made up of a basket of tech companies. It's largely driven by those tech companies. And we can look more specifically at companies like Zoom to just show the sheer amount of heat that's in this ecosystem. So first off, you see what looks like pretty clear distribution and a likely drop off in Zoom, where we do see a market correction in multiple markets, Bitcoin included. And I think we see that right now by this new area of potential accumulation that's going to be taking place. How low does it go? How much fear enters the market? It's yet to be known, but we're going to find out. Okay, but look at the sheer amount of explosion since December 2019 for Zoom. You have 790%. For Tesla, you have, and again, what we're trying to do here is always just understand like larger market sentiments. If we go from, look, October, November, we'll go December too, same as before. December to where we are now for Tesla, you're talking about 840%. Okay, well, that's higher than what Bitcoin has done. So we're seeing an innovation and a tech cycle like we haven't seen before. This kind of forced into remote work area, like everyone's online. Everyone's like new water cooler, as Vitalik puts it, is Twitter. And everyone that works in every different sector hangs out at the water cooler at their lunch break, shoot the shit at Twitter. Anyways, the point of this is the tech sector, and it's capable of growing at such an exponential rate because it's deflationary, because the cost of doing business on every level. Tesla is a great example of that. I mean, it's kind of funny. They talk about in the Great Reset about how you won't own anything and you'll be happy. Well, look, a lot of the times in a big city, you don't necessarily want to own a car. It would be easier if I had just a micro part of a car where the car would just come pick you up. Personally, if you were to ask me, would you want the Tesla Roadster or like a Ferrari? I'm going to pick the Tesla. I think electric vehicles are amazing. You just go, that's it. You just have go, no shifting, none of that nonsense. That sounds amazing to me. And I like the kind of raw aesthetics of a motorcycle, like a rum, but it's about drive. Then again, you talk about evolutions of maybe into anti-gravity. Who cares? We could be at a spot where like, okay, well, you got a Ferrari, but we have anti-gravity spaceships. Like that's what that article we just looked at said, right? They're basically like, yeah, we know aliens exist. There's a galactic federation, and they're just kind of like waiting for us to mature enough to get our shit together. So when they show up, we don't all freak out and start shooting at everything because we think that they're, like the attacking Russians. Something ridiculous. Anyways, we don't want to get that one wrong. Okay, what was my point of that? Oh, right. Deflationary technology, or in exponential technology, and the deflationary nature of what it does to society as it grows. And that's kind of always been the opportunities and the exciting aspects of tech. Is right now the internet, I can go live and we're streaming. We've got 183 people watching. I've got a little TV show that never was possible just 15 years ago, and it's like affordable, right? It takes a computer, a camera, a microphone. That's it, and boom, we're live, ladies and gentlemen, from the middle of the jungle. It's crazy. That's exponential deflationary technology. And it's not that those words like deflationary, exponential, or even decentralized, like that's not just inherent to Bitcoin. It's inherent almost to the entire tech sector as it evolves because of what technology is doing to the fabric of reality. Now, there's downsides to this, but from an investment standpoint, what we want to recognize is what does that do to the market cycle, right? Because we've had this big explosion since December last year. Where does the retracement come in, and how big is it? If we focus on just Bitcoin, our original assertion before we even left the trading range was around $13,000, back near the top of the trading range. I'm gonna wait and be patient here, but that's the best thing we can do from an investor standpoint is to realize we're in a bull market. Just keep buying. Okay. If you want to get all fancy and take even more advantage of the opportunities that are available through timing and execution, then use smaller time frames. And right now we could actually be witnessing a new reaccumulation pattern. So we have to keep, and again, buying spot every day is probably fine no matter what the price is. Institutions are going to keep accumulating here because we just left the trading range. We're not even done markup yet. We still have like another 2 or 3 SOSs and LPSs to go. Just started the bull market. It's like in March. So this drawdown we had talked about probably going till May, and this would kind of fit March, April, May. Let's say February through March would be a good idea. You come down, let's say we come down to $15,000, just being conservative here on both sides. Maybe we break up sooner. It doesn't really matter. The point of this is this cycle between here and March is going to be kind of boring, I would suspect. And then we're going to have another explosive move. So you're probably going to see 60 to 90 days of like, maybe let's say 30 to 60 days of kind of sideways boring, and then 30 days of like startup explosion out near March, and then a full entry, what they would call full send into the Bitcoin stratosphere as we really shake off the final layers of supply moving forward. And that's kind of indicative of how a bull market through time works. And we're going to see a lot more euphoria. We're nowhere near a euphoric moment right now. We're near the bottom still, for sure. And that's important to remember. But either way, if you're new and you want to practice these things, you should be using a stop loss on small trades. You can play around with futures. Put $10 on a futures trade at 100x. Lose that $10, but gain the experience of what it's like, how quickly you get liquidated, how wrong you were, or how right you were. It's entertaining, to say the least. And it's a very cheap way to get a very useful lesson, which is exposure to the markets and understanding how some of these more exotic or primitive tools work. So if you have never used leverage, sign up by going to any of our links down below through arcanebear.com/FTX or /Binance or / any other ones that are on there. Blockfi. The point of this is Lindley, our lovely South African administrator, always reminds me to help spread the referral links. If you are new to TradingView, sign up with arcanebear.com /TradingView, because anyways, the reason being this, he gets paid from us making sure we've got revenue coming in. So I have to remember to thank Lindley by giving our shout outs to the affiliate links, because he's the one that helped set those up. 3 years of this channel, I never had affiliate links. And he's like, here you go. It only took like 10 minutes. How was I that lazy? I just didn't care. I guess that's what it was. I didn't care. But now, because Lindley's here, so we're making sure we do the extra work for you. Okay. Next thing, let's take a look at a few more questions. Let me know how you guys enjoy these live streams. We'll just kind of go over, maybe we'll start to add a little bit more news. We're going to try some editing. We're going to try to scale and produce more content. We've got Baloo that wrote a newsletter for our free newsletter group that will go to over 5,000 people. So if you're not on our free newsletter, you can go to arcanebear.com and sign up for the free newsletter. Or if you want to try the paid one and be a real Bear Den family member, join our private mastermind Discord group and monthly newsletters and educational updates, then you can go to arcanebear.com /private. Jesus, this is such a shill moment. That's what happens in the live stream. You have way too much time to shill. When you're not live streaming and it's like condensed to only 15 minutes, you don't shill. Because you're like, oh yeah, whatever. Maybe you sign up, maybe you don't. I don't have enough time to talk about that. But in a live stream, you're talking about an hour of content time. Like, I'm going to take 5 minutes. I'm going to shill you guys our newsletters, our referral links. And if you don't want to do any of that, but you still want to support us and like us, give us those thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell for all the notifications, share it with your friends and family, expose them to the ramblings and rantings of someone for an hour and a half talking about market cycles and alien technology. Such a weird eclectic mix. I'm sure somebody will enjoy it. But we're going to take a look at your questions now. Robert Miller says, where can I get me some Bear token? Great question, Robert. You can go to Uniswap, and I don't buy Bear token, but you can use it for discounted services, memberships, swag, whatever you'd like in our store. It's a different story. I need me some Bear. Dante Com says, what do you think will happen to BTC? Okay, right. That's the one we just went over. MicroStrategy is adding massively to a winning trade. They're already in profit. Yeah, exactly. MicroStrategy is basically just averaging out into like a $13,000 Bitcoin by buying at this price and adding more to their stack effectively. They're just averaging down or averaging up a little bit at this point. How do you play longs and shorts in this stage of the market when you're looking at percentage? That's all entirely dependent upon your portfolio. It is impossible to answer that question. It all depends on your risk capability and how well you deal with money management, up or down. Either way, it's an impossible question to answer. I'm sorry, there's no easy way to be like, I'm just going to like, my shoe fits your foot. No, it's not how it works. Even if we have the same foot size, we might not like the same shoe. Anyways, any thoughts in your mind, med stock, use of psychedelic medicines? I think psychedelic capitalism is the future evolution of who wins this game. I think the first entrepreneurs that really realize that on multiple segments of business win. But Joe Rogan are limited hangouts. Beware, expand your search through real history. Yeah, I don't know what that means. I listen to a lot of people. I like listening. I love listening. It's fantastic to learn new stuff, to hear people's opinions. I don't really care even if they're wrong. I like hearing other people's opinions. So, wow, that person believes something totally different and crazy and far, or what I might believe to be far out than them. What a wild and unique world we live in. Okay, thank you for your work. It really helps grounding me when we talk about Link versus Bitcoin. I will go over Link and Bitcoin. I should probably bring a drink here so we can do a longer live stream. If I should almost have some music in the background, and then go. Okay, maybe we're gonna put some music in the background, and I'm gonna just grab. No, we shouldn't. Well, I want to get a drink, ladies and gentlemen, so that we can just hang out here for like an hour or two. But I guess it's not the wisest use of my time. I have some other things to do this afternoon. There's questions. We'll go over Link at the end of the video here, so stick around. It would probably take aliens to unite humanity. A live gig today. Yeah, live stream today. If you've never used leverage, don't use it. No, I disagree. If you've never used leverage, use it. Just use a very small amount of money so you can understand what it is, how it works. And that way you had an experience where you learned something. There's nothing more valuable than that. I absolutely disagree. If you've never used leverage, use it. Just use very small amounts of money, like $10, because you're going to lose that $10, but you'll learn something. And if you're paying for your educational process, that is by far the best thing you can do with your time and your energy. So if you're interested in using it in any way, shape, or form, do it. Okay. I believe, hold on a sec. Did we just have, I think we just had some camera downtime. Let's see here. Okay, there we go. We're back. I'll have to keep that in mind. Okay, last thing. The setup looks good, backups and all. What's your current views on Digibyte? We went over Digibyte in yesterday's video. They don't have monkey butlers to bring you beverages. No monkey butlers here in Costa Rica yet. I tried to hire my guys. I put bananas out in the bamboo for them all the time. It worked. I couldn't get them to give me a smoothie from the jungle. Commercial break. Yeah, commercial break. Yeah, where's right? Sip the cranberry juice like dog face, man. You gotta respect that awesomeness. I love when people succeed from just being authentic. It's so sweet. It's one of my favorite things about the internet. It just gives so many people these unique opportunities that never are available tomorrow. You make a video about yourself dancing and like just enjoying time, and all of a sudden before you know it, you've made like an extra $250,000 or something from brand deals. I love the internet. It's so exciting. Learn leverage when you find consistency. Yeah, I don't even really think learning about leverage and knowing what you're doing in the market necessarily makes any sense. Just use small amount. You'll get the feeling for it right away. You'll know what it does. It's like touching something hot. You're going to lose that money. So you don't even need to know where you are on the market. The most important part of that is understanding how quickly you're going to lose your money, because then you know how good you have to be at finding a market cycle to actually use leverage like 20x, because you got to be pretty good to find a market entry. To use leverage like that. Oh, and actually get it right, with a stop loss, to have your profit targets in sight. Yeah, you need to be pretty good at it. So you're going to lose it anyways. So just go ahead, get that first lesson over, but just lose very little understanding how hot that tool is. Okay, let's take one final look. Can we see your dog? He's outside right now. we'll do more jungle videos, I guess. It's nice and sunny out. Like, look at how beautiful the jungle is in the background. It took some time, but we're getting there now where we can do more outside videos where I just kind of talk about. Okay, so lastly, link here. We're going to go off with that one, and then lunchtime. And then beach time. Yes, lunch and then beach. Okay. Here we go. Let's take a look at Link. So, I didn't get stopped out, but super close. So, I'm not going to look at Link versus Bitcoin because right now I feel that the DeFi sector and all the US dollar stablecoins that we were looking at in Dune Analytics has changed the game. We now measure against the US dollar more than Bitcoin, apparently. But anyways, we're not going to worry about that too much for now. We're just going to focus on Link and US dollars here so we don't get too caught off guard. Point of this is we're looking at what might be a temporary distribution pattern with this head and shoulders. Now, again, we are in a bull market, so we don't want to insinuate that. But here we're also butting up against the trading range. This could be another layer of distribution. And if you start to see larger distribution in Bitcoin as well, we had speculated that to a lower regression line for Chainlink, you could see a price spike down as low as $7 to $4 to $5 effectively. So we could see another breakdown and a new trading range form here. And maybe even a bigger selling climax down to $3. We really don't know what the market's going to bring. But right now, we're just right on the edge where my stop loss might get hit here on that trade. So it's really close to that as well. So I'm playing quite cautious here with Link just because I don't know where it is. It's already had a big market cycle explosion to the upside before we got here. So we don't know how it's going to interact yet. So I don't want to rush it. I'm going to wait for a trading range to form. I'm not going to try to force the markets. Now, if you're buying spot, it's a different story. But again, I'm mostly playing with exotics on a day-to-day basis or like a swing-to-swing basis effectively because there's so much momentum in this market. And if you know where you are in a trading range, it can be enormously rewarding. Anyways, we'll keep it at that. Thank you guys all for joining us this evening. Day, morning, afternoon, sleepy time. You somehow managed to tune into the live stream while you're absolutely dead in the middle of your REM sleep, eyeballs flittering away in the background. I hope you enjoy the new updates. We've got a good mic, we've got a good camera. You can see Buddha and Ganesh are hanging out with us for the day. We've got all things unique and ridiculous on the table here. And maybe next time we'll have a shisha pipe here. We'll just hang out for a few hours. I hope you guys enjoy the live streams. I always liked doing this when we first started the Arcane Bear. It was like almost all live streams. I did live streams from my cell phone, just walking outside. I would point my phone at the TV, or like I would plug the computer into the TV so I could look at it full screen, which to show you with my phone, because it would really go live when I first started doing this. It was so the evolution of the channel has been a lot of fun. This is significantly higher quality. I can hear it, and I appreciate the support. Again, thank you to all the private bear members. You are going to receive the new reaccumulation PDF this week. There's going to be a general PDF that goes out to all the free newsletter as well. We're just going to try some sector analysis writing by one of our private members, Baloo. So shout out to Baloo for the helping produce the free newsletter for everyone that you're going to get. All members will get that one. It's just a general breakdown of understanding and kind of looking at a basket of ideas. It's quite nice. I think he's did a great job on it, and I agree. We went over that the other day with the DeFi perpetuals, and you've got the shit perps and DeFi, mid perp, alt perp, and these are all different baskets of tokens from the FTX platform. Again, another way to kind of play the general broad market instead of just being like, oh, I want to buy Aave. You can buy something like the DeFi perp, and you can have exposure to Aave, Wi-Fi, and a number of other DeFi basket assets. Anyways, we'll leave it at that. Thank you guys all for joining us. Give us those thumbs up one last time. Leave your thoughts, your comments, your questions down below. Let me know what you guys think of these live videos in the comments, because it's kind of weird the way YouTube distributes them. Let me know if you like the pre-recorded videos more. We're going to try out a few different types of content scaling over the next little while here. And now that this is kind of set up, hopefully get the opportunity to do more educational stuff as well. Anyways, we'll leave it at that. Stay with the Arcane Bear. Tell your family you love them. Go give a tree a hug. Breathe in the sweet air deeply. Exhale and relax, because we are all, I don't know, on a planet flying around through space. It's incredibly brilliant that anything exists at all. Anyways, we'll see you guys on the other side of the steel with the Arcane Bear. Boom!